Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of the Elimee Designs crochet video blog. So I have two finished, we shall say, objects, a fair number of works in progress, and some exciting news. So recently I seem to have a lot of my, I don't know if you want to call it divine inspiration or epiphany or whatever you want to call it, the muse seems to hit me in the middle of the night when I'm half asleep feeding the little one. And the latest kind of idea that struck me that I've decided to run with is to run a winter cal. So stay tuned if you want to hear a little bit more about what's going to be coming up. So starting with finished objects. If you will remember last month's episode, I crocheted the slalom square that I designed as part of a collaborative cal. So it was a blanket pattern called the Here Comes Treble blanket, and it was hosted by Simply Melanie Jane. Now this was my contribution. The one that I did for the cal itself was actually in purple. Excuse me if you can hear baby noises in the background. She was sleeping, not so much anymore. And this one is in Stylecraft Special DK in the shade Cloud Blue. Now the idea behind this particular project was to make some, probably not all of the squares, given that I want it to be baby sized, and have it as hopefully a backup present for my best friend who told me last month that she was pregnant, that she was expecting. And yesterday she actually sent me some new scan photos. So I assume that's a 20-week scan, and she said that baby is fine, looks healthy, is on track to arrive safely at the end of this year. So, I mean, I don't care if they're a boy or a girl, you know, blue to me is, well, I don't really think gender neutral is the right term because I don't really care. I don't think colours are gendered, but I decided to do it in blues and greys. They're all shades of Stylecraft Special DK for this particular blanket. And so yeah, this was the one that I had already finished. And I was about halfway through, oh, no, that's the wrong one. This one. So this is the baseball diamond square, which was designed by Simply Melanie Jane. And I was just over halfway and I've managed to finish that one off. So this one is in the shade Silver. They all do need to be blocked at the end before I join them all together, just because where the stitches come quite close to the edge, it does tend to tug a little bit, like you can see on this end. So I just need to straighten these out before I join them together, just so that I get a nice crisp finish to the edges of my blanket. So aside from finishing this block, I've actually finished another one that I accidentally showed you a moment ago, and that is a flower square. So it's got obviously the flower at the top, the stem and two little leaves, and this one is in the shade Aster. So I thought this one was really cute. I tried, as I said before, to avoid anything that was very specifically seasonal. So I'm not going to be doing the Easter basket or the cross, just because to me that says Easter. And this baby is obviously going to be born towards the end of the year. The next one that I have started, I say that, and then I'm bringing out this one, although it fits more with when the baby's due. This is the start of a snowflake. So again, it's in Aster. And this is obviously two of the points of the, three. Oh my gosh, I just can't seem to get my head on straight today. 3 of the points of the snowflake. You'll soon be getting obviously 2 more going this way, and then the other 3 at the top. So hopefully by the time that I am finished, it will look, she says, like a nice baby blanket. I haven't bothered sort of calculating how many squares I do actually need to make. All of my squares are turning out about 8 inches in each direction, so they'll make a decent sized baby blanket, because I don't like those tiny little things that you can't even wrap them up in. I'm not really one for pram blankets. I like to sort of swaddle them and keep them nice and cozy and toasty. So yeah, so that's the whip bit, and the others are technically finished, bar sort of weaving in the ends. So moving on to the rest of the official works in progress, I've managed to work on a few this month. So first up, probably not the most interesting one, I apologise, it's just the first bag that I grabbed. This is a swatch, just to help me work out my gauge for a blanket square that I'm doing as part of another collaborative cal. So having seen the swatch, I have decided that I'm not going to make the whole square in bobbles. I'm going to actually just do the design in bobbles and have the rest sort of flat, so that the bobbles actually stick out and give you a bit more texture as well as the motif itself. but I made this one using, gosh, Paint Box Yarns Simply Aran. And unfortunately, I can't remember what the colour was called on the website because I'm sure it wasn't called this. But the label says it's colour 226, which is really dull and boring. But anyway, my square is going to be made using this shade of green and white because they didn't have the raspberry pink that I wanted. It was out of stock. So what I might do is do the official square in those two yarns because it has to be a certain size using certain yarns just so that it coordinates with everybody else's square. And then I might make another one in shades that I have in my stash that I much prefer. So I do have a sort of raspberry pink by a different yarn company, and then just have that as my one. Because that way it doesn't matter if it's not the same size as everyone else's, because I can make all of my squares out of the same yarn that I already have. So mine will match each other rather than matching the hosts. So I think that's fine. So I have a little over a week left to finish doing the sample for that project, at which point I have to send it off to the host, who will then crochet it in the official cow colours, and then it will be released on my blog. But obviously if you go back to her blog, so to the host blog, you'll be able to see all of the other squares. So they've actually been releasing a square gradually, one at a time, all year. So it is a kind of very long cow, so it's going to make a very big blanket. The next work in progress is my current Nemesis. I feel I ended up frogging it yet again because it was not turning out the way it was supposed to. So this is now the 4th iteration of this blanket, which is going to be the next pattern that I publish myself, to not one of my commissions, after my autumn blanket, assuming that I manage to finish the sample and get it to testers in a reasonable amount of time. So apologies if this doesn't appear as quickly as hoped, because now that I've had the brainwave of the cow, that's kind of probably going to slot in front of this in terms of priority for crochet. So this one, you can't really tell what it is yet, is now turning out as it should. So I'm happy with the proportions of how the filet motif is working up, and it's not going all tension wibbly wobbly. You know, when I pull the edges, they actually come straight, whereas before it wasn't staying in a square, it was ending up with some ridiculous, not even a hexagon, like a ridiculous shape that you would never be able to lie flat, and therefore would never make a decent blanket. So this is going to be another baby sized blanket. I'm having a thing of baby blankets at the moment to give me lots of choices for my best friend and anybody else who decides to have a baby in the near future. So this one is made with Starcraft Special DK and Hint of Silver. So just like with my Here Comes Treble blanket, I decided to go with colours that were in my stash. And again, because I don't know what the gender of the baby is, I'm going with a nice grey. I do quite like greys. If this does go to the baby, actually, her big sister was actually who the Caitlin was designed for, and Caitlin was made with this colour too. So that was made with silver and Hint of Silver. So, you know, potentially they could coordinate if we really, really wanted them to. So hopefully I will make some more progress on that now that I have restarted for the 4th time. Hopefully I won't have to restart again. The top part of the motif is more complicated, as is the border. So I'm hoping that that continues to work up as I envision it, so that I don't have to keep ripping it back and adjusting, because 4 times to completely frog a project for a future pattern is probably the most I've ever had to frog a single project. And it's time consuming, because it takes me a little while to decide, okay, that's getting worse, not better, as I hoped it would. So I'm going to have to rip it back. So yeah, I shall keep you posted on that one, she says with a little bit of trepidation. Okay, the next one has been in my whip pile since Easter, when I missed the deadline. So if you recall, I was making 2 Humphreys for my daughters. So for my eldest, I made one in a hot pink and yellow because she's a big pink girl. And for my middle child, I had planned to make a rainbow one because the designer, Deb, had kindly gifted me a kit to make Humphrey in the rainbow colours, which is like the official colours that Humphrey's supposed to come in. And I had got as far as that stitch marker there, so I don't know, just over halfway through the body section when it was Easter, and so I missed it. So they ended up sharing the one that I had finished, but because I'd missed the deadline, I kind of almost put it on the back burner a bit, just because I had other things going on. And I'm like, no, I must go back to this. I must finish it. And if I do finish it, reasonably soon. I'll probably give it to her for her birthday as part of her birthday present. I've got a good few months until her birthday, so hopefully she'll be happy with that. So I've cut my tail so it's ready to sew up the bottom. Just trying to, I'm not very good at amigurumi, as you can tell. I do need to shape it a little bit and just make sure that it doesn't need any more stuffing. And then that bit of the body will be ready. And I did get a little bit further and I've started a foot. So I've literally just started going towards the decrease to go up the leg, at which point it will start changing colours in order to match the body. So it's going to have all of these rainbow colours, and hopefully, because I didn't have any problems crocheting any of the parts last time, it's shaping it as you stuff it to make sure that it doesn't look like a mess, because I don't make many amigurumi. And then the worst bit is the assembly. So I might take it to my knitting and crochet group that I go to every week, because one of my friends does quite a few amigurumi and her assembly looks, well, I say way better than mine, 1,000,000 times better than mine. And she talked me through the very first, not Humphrey, but the very first Humphrey-esque amigurumi by Deb that I made, which was the Frankenmonster for Halloween last year. She did a little cowl. And she talked me through, she literally came over, me expecting her to, when I text her really quickly going, quick, help, need to assemble an amigurumi, send me some tips. And she was like, oh, what's your address? I'll just come pop round and give you a hand, which was so sweet of her. So hopefully she'll be able to help me to assemble this one in a way that it actually looks like it's supposed to. My poor pink and yellow one, the legs I think are a little bit too far apart, so it looks a bit funny when it sits down, but that's my fault, not the designer's. So this, oh my gosh, this is also made using Stylecraft Special DK. And if I can remember all of the colours, because I do find it a lot harder if I'm not the one who purchased the yarn. She has used Matador for the red, Jaffa, I'm guessing Jaffa Cakes, for the orange, Sunshine Yellow, Grass Green, Turquoise Empire, Purple, she's written it as purple, so I assume it's maybe proper purple, and Lapis. She also kindly sent me some spare eyes for the other one I made as well, because I don't make very many. She was like, well, you probably don't have any. Here, have some extras. So she was very sweet. And she did give me a few extras in my kit as well. So she's a lovely friend, part of my co-working group. So the last work in progress that I have to share is Caitlin. Sorry, I probably shouldn't be as excited as I am, but I do love my Caitlin zigzag blanket. It was my original kind of pattern that established Elimee Designs. This is the one that made me decide, okay, let's release it, see if anyone else likes it, and that turned into a business. So thank you for all of your support and love for this pattern. I think of all of my patterns so far, this is the one I have most frequently seen shared on social media, so thank you for that. Thank you so much. This one is made again from yarn that I had lying around. So this is made from yarn that was going to be a Sophie's Universe, only I didn't like the way the colours were working up together. And so until I get around to buying some new colours to start that blanket again, I decided to recycle the yarn that I had bought. So I did make a stripy version of the Caitlin blanket for my smallest, which you would have seen before Christmas, because obviously she was born just after Christmas. But this, I decided to do a neutral one, is Stylecraft Special Chunky in the colour Parchment. So I really, really love this colour. I don't know, it's just very calming, I think. And it's going to be a decent sized baby blanket. Yes, I'm doing all the baby blankets so that I have lots of choices for my friend. Who knows what I'm going to do with all of the ones that are left over. I mean, if nobody else announces that they are pregnant, I might donate them or give them to work colleagues who have babies. I know a few, along with myself, had babies last year. I have no idea if any of them are pregnant this year because I haven't been at work. But I am going back soon, so, you know, I will find a home for them. So I hope that you like that one. I've finished the main body, and so all that I need to do is to add the border. And I am going to go, although I haven't done it with any Caitlins since the original, I am going to go back to the original border for this particular one. So do the half double slip stitch border going up and down in this direction rather than working in rounds. I just like the effect that it gives. So moving on to news for Elimee Designs. So I'm not going to keep you in anticipation any longer. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the winter cowl. So as I said, it was a a stroke of inspiration. That makes it sound a bit more grandiose than it probably is. But the inspiration struck in the middle of the night when I was feeding, and I went through a few different iterations in my mind as to how big a cowl I should do and how it should run and what kind of pattern it should be. Oh, little thing's yawning, she's so tired. So I started out thinking, okay, a Christmas blanket. But then I thought, well, given when I want to launch it, which is sort of November time, yes, you could do a blanket between then and Christmas, but you'd probably be pushing it a bit, and you definitely wouldn't be able to make more than one unless you're a fast crocheter or had lots of free time. So I decided to make it a slightly smaller cowl. So this is going to be a 2-week cowl running in November. I'm not going to tell you what the design is yet because my email subscribers are voting on certain elements of the design. So this week, by the time I launch this video blog, because it will be last week, but they got to help me decide on the stitch for the main motif. I need to double check the results. I checked it about like 2 hours after I sent the email, and at that time both of the suggested stitches were on equal footing in terms of votes, but things may have changed completely since then because that was a few days ago. I am going to announce the results in the next newsletter, so if you'd like to see, make sure that you're subscribed to that. And over the coming weeks, they're going to get to vote on other elements of the design, including things like the colour that I create the sample in, possibly some of the embellishments. There's a few other bits and pieces that they might get to vote on depending on how the sample creation goes on my end. And then obviously nearer the time, there'll be a big reveal of the design, and you'll have your chance to sign up. So another reason to join my mailing list, sorry, I don't mean to be selling this to you, is that the cowl is actually going to run through emails. So if you join up now, then obviously you'll automatically get the email going, click this button if you want to take part in the cowl. I don't want to bombard all of my subscribers with things they're not interested in. So literally it'll be a case of in a couple of emails in succession, just in case you miss one, there'll be a little button saying if you want to take part in the cowl, please leave your email address here, which will put you into a different kind of group. And it's those people who will be sent the cowl, so that the people who don't want to take part don't have to get all of those emails flooding into their inbox. As part of the cowl, I'm hoping to do a few live events. So you'll be able to ask questions, ask for help, get to meet some of the other people who are crocheting along, or see some of their work. I haven't decided which platform I'm going to use yet, so I'm not sure if we'll actually be able to see each other or whether you'll just see me and you'll be able to chat in the chat, converse in the chat function. So I will make a decision on that nearer to the time. And there are a few other bonuses and goodies that I'm going to not launch, but I guess have around the time of the cowl. So I do really look forward to that. In slightly less exciting news, the autumn pattern is in testing. So I am on track to have that released in August. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. And my commission, I am literally about, gosh, like a meter away from finishing that of yarn. And weaving in literally about 2 ends left to weave in. There were not many ends for this commission at all. And that will be coming out in December in a magazine. I'm not allowed to reveal which one yet, but I hope that you are going to like it. The other commission that I spoke about last time is coming out in August. So again, I'm not yet at liberty to say what the design is, but as soon as I can, I will share it with you. It'll be on social media, it'll be in my newsletter. So hopefully you will like that one too. So a lot's been going on this month. Lots of things to enjoy, lots of fun things going on. I hope that you've had a really nice crochet month too. But until next month, happy crocheting.